Okay, first up this week is going to be Kaiju Battlefield Sergeant, a LitRPG adventure written by Matt Dinneman, the same dude who wrote Dominion of Blades. That's what it actually says on the cover. It is 844 pages, is $4.99. It is available on Kindle Unlimited. And here is, well, actually, instead of me reading the author's description, let me have you listen to him talk about this.
So Matt Dinneman, you're the author of Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon. Tell me about your book.
Okay, so I have a new book. It's called Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon. It is a horror lit RPG. It's bloody. It's gory. It's about a dude that gets trapped in the game by serial killers, and it's a full immersion, full pain game where they like to capture people, torture them, and then bring them back to life, and then torture them again. And all while there's giant monsters, Kaiju, Godzilla-sized monsters bouncing around fighting, and you play a character, or the main character plays a character who's called a worm surgeon, and his job is to heal the Kaiju from the inside and the outside, all the while he's playing the game. And if you like guts, if you like gore, if you like sexually active donkeys, you know, I think it's a pretty good book.
And what were your inspirations for this book?
Well, I'm a lit RPG author. I have been for a while, and I love the genre. I love the stories. But you know, there's not too many horror lit RPGs. There's a few of them, and they're great. But most of them tend to be either zombie themed or like dungeon core themed. And I haven't seen too many fantasy horror lit RPG novels that take the gore and the horrific themes like dealing psychological torture, physical torture, in a way that I liked it, so I wanted to write one, and it's what I wanted to read, so that's what I did. I wrote it.
And there we go. In the author's own words, that is what the story is about. The actual review goes on from here. This is a weird, dark, gory, mind-messing story. There are some parts that feel more like a normal XP grinding quest, which I think anybody would enjoy. But then there are other parts that just stand out as either weird, as gory, or just messing with your head. And I was really cool with some of the biological gore. Part of the story takes place inside of these giant kaiju monsters, where the main character, as the author described it, is in a virtual reality game, is supposed to be like killing parasites and like giant tapeworms and these other like creepy entities actually inside of these monsters, in these giant kaiju monsters. And it's like described very graphically, both the biological portions and also the creepy nature of the parasites and stuff. And I was actually okay with that, even though it was very descriptive. For me and my brain, I'm okay with like biological stuff. It's real, it's human, and yes, humanity's messy, and so is biology. My brain is okay with that. Not everybody's brain is okay with that. If you can't stand like real like documentaries where they show, you know, people being cut up and you see actual organs or things, not the book for you. This is that part alone is going to like mess you up. However, there were other scenes in this novel that was like, oh no, not for me, like particular scene. And these are things that are very skippable. And I actually enjoyed the rest of the story. Actually, I thought the story was great on the whole. But there are scenes that are going to again be super graphic and super creepy and on the horror side of things, which is what the author intended. For example, there's a couple scenes where the scene with the testicles was a little bit too much. It was a little too graphic. I skipped over that part. I also skipped over the part where there's the 50 points of amplification. It was a little too torturous for me. And it's like, okay, I get why it's here. This is part of the author's love of like horror movies combined with like this kind of stuff. And it's very much in play with the story. And I wasn't too horrified about it actually, like what had happened to the main character, because he kind of signed up for it. But the actual description was like, okay, I'm just going to skip past this part. And I did. And a lot of those scenes that might be a little too gross for some people are very skippable. And the rest of the story is still very enjoyable. On the other hand, there are scenes in the story that were just so well written and so touching that they brought me to tears. Like they genuinely did. Like, so there's just huge like expanse of like these these feelings that I have about the story. Some are just like, oh, that's gross and torturous. And others like, that made me cry. That was so sad. And other scenes are just like, that is so mean for the author to do to these characters. And this story is disturbing sometimes. There are disturbing twists, especially towards the end. And I cared for the main character, even though I was appalled by some of the dark decisions he made. And just to be like completely clear, there were no heroes in the story. This is a dark, kind of twisted, weird story. There are heroic moments. There are terribly dark ones. But there really are no heroes in this entire thing. So don't expect this to be ending and kind of this happy momentous thing. It's just not. So just that's the story. On the game mechanic side, very happy. I mean, generally. I really like the idea where in an RPG game, your task is to help heal kaiju monsters by killing their parasites and diseases. It's a very interesting concept that I've never seen before, and I'm always really impressed by what Matt Dinovan comes up with in his outer brain to do these kind of stories. And I like the storyline. I like how the game mechanics were important to it. Themes of revenge and redemption and desires for forgiveness were really touching to me. And it's just a bunch of good stuff that kept the game quest interesting, especially once it started tying together to the larger storyline. So the game mechanic stuff, super awesome. Really enjoyed it a lot. And they were impactful in every single aspect of the story. Overall, this novel is not for everybody. And just that's the truth. It's okay. It's weird and it's dark and it's sad and it's sometimes gross. And it's definitely not for anybody who's squeamish or doesn't like horror. But it really has some great pieces to it that stuck with me for hours after I was finished reading. So for me, I really enjoyed it. I do enjoy so much. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10, which means it's a great novel to me. And that's mostly because of the originality of this thing. It had an emotional impact on me, whether it was being kind of grossed out or fascinated by kaiju biology, or just brought to tears by some of the super sad moments of the story. And so for me, I like weird things, and I was okay with some of the biological grossness. So I was genuinely surprised how much I enjoyed this. But again, not for everybody. So just be aware of what's in this thing. I really like the forward of this novel where the author's like, this is dedicated to my mom. Please don't read this, Mom. I don't want to have weird discussions at Christmas. And that kind of sums up kind of the warning for some LitRPG readers. If it's not something you think you're comfortable with, please don't pick it up. But if you're kind of the person who likes horror and is okay with this kind of stuff, I think this is something that's really unique. So it gets a score of an 8 out of 10. Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon, a LitRPG adventure with the score of 8 out of 10.